Hi, everyone. It's Margaret Manning here with lifeafterdeath.com. We're a community of people who are fascinated in the topic of life after death and things like reincarnation, near-death experience, and spirituality in general. We talk to people about their own personal expertise, and my guest tonight is Linda Backman, who is a licensed psychologist and a regression therapist. Now, Linda is the author of 3 books, but her most recent book is totally fascinating to me. It's called Souls on Earth, Exploring Interplanetary Past Lives. Now, it's a fascinating topic, Linda. Please help us understand how this complements the work that you've been doing with soul regressions.
Yes, well, I'll sort of to put a little bit of a package around it so it makes sense, Margaret. When I first trained in guiding past life regression and also the soul level regression work that I do that goes beyond the ending of the past life and to work at the soul level with guides, I remember my mentor so clearly saying, sometimes we have past lives on Earth, and sometimes we have past lives not on Earth. And I didn't understand that a lot, but I didn't completely, cast aside that as a possibility. I guided regression maybe for 5 to 8 years, and periodically I would have a client who went to a past life, who discovered a past life that was not on Earth. And I might just add that I don't choose the past life that comes forward for the client.
Right.
And I want listeners to be sure they know I guide the client to tell me about the past life. I don't do past life readings. The client goes to the past life that their spiritual guides and their soul level, that the client's soul level finds most important to help them in life today. All of a sudden, maybe, 12 to 14 years ago, I started paying attention to my client practice, and I guide regression week in and week out for the most part, and many times a week usually. I started realizing that 50 to 60% of my clients were discovering past lives not on Earth. So I just kind of asked myself, and then I actually can talk to my own guides. It took me years to learn to do that. But I began to understand that I was to learn about interplanetary past lives so I could help people understand what is the purpose of that and how does that help us on Earth today. So why do souls who've primarily incarnated not on Earth come to Earth?
Okay, well, those are 2 big buckets of questions categories. So let me just ask you a couple of questions about the whole idea of interplanetary. Now, do you mean that they were living, as they think, on another planet in the solar system or universe, or that they were in a different dimension, a different level, not on the physical Earth, but on Earth broadly? That makes any sense.
People ask. I totally understand why that's hard to ask, because people ask that all the time. Okay. Essentially, if we have an interplanetary past life, that past life happens in the same time frame as we are living on Earth. In other words, it isn't like it isn't like necessarily a parallel universe. But to make it simple, and what I'm asked a lot is, in what form? In other words, is it on a planet? Is it in a star system? Is it in an interdimensional space that does not have density? And the truth is, it's all of that. So maybe to, again, just deepen this and make it a little bit more clear for people.
Right.
There are locations, if you will, kind of using their, locations in quotes, in the celestial realm, right, that are, again, planets, star systems, and interdimensional space, where there is a healthy culture or a healthy community where souls learn about lack of inequality, where they learn about healthy life, healthy bodies, healthy nutrition, healthy relationships, et cetera, et cetera. They bring that wisdom to Earth to try to teach us more about that.
So are they, in a sense, this is not the right way to say it, but more advanced? Is that, we talked earlier in another video about the purpose of the soul's existence is to learn through a series of lifetimes. So someone that's experiencing a past life and a different interplanetary, is that more advanced, or
yes,
where is that?
Yes. So if a soul comes to Earth, and obviously they're my client, if a soul comes, because that's how I discovered this, if a soul comes to Earth and they discover an interplanetary life, one or more, they always come to Earth as an advanced soul. Now, does that mean they're the most advanced souls on the planet? Not necessarily, because we have souls that are advanced, that are embodied today on Earth, who have lived Earth life after Earth life after Earth life, also gaining wisdom. But an interplanetary soul is always a rather advanced soul.
Now, you mentioned that they come to help. You mentioned nutrition and other healing things that they're interested in sharing. Is that why they come to Earth, and why would they come here if they are at a more advanced level? Maybe is this even more advanced in potential on Earth?
I've had a lot of my clients say that Earth is, let me see how to put this. Earth is one of the more challenging places to incarnate. One of the reasons for that is because we have complete free will when we come into body on Earth. So it's a challenging place to grow and evolve because we have complete free will. I've also had clients say more than once, Earth is an experiment to see if we can figure out how to live in equality. And so these advanced souls, for the most part, come to Earth to contribute, hopefully, to the evolution of Earth. So I'll add that interplanetary souls, or clients that I work with that have had interplanetary past lives, and I call them IP souls, just to make it simple. IP souls come here bringing their gifts and their wisdom. They also have a lot of difficulty, oftentimes, in being in body on Earth. And those are some of the reasons I have worked with so many of these souls, is they come with gifts that are very unique, but they also come with challenges that are also sometimes not the easiest.
And what would you say those challenges are?
So some of the characteristics, and people can, go read about this in this latest book of mine that came out in 2018, Souls on Earth. Interplanetary souls often, and this is not a checklist, but have these possibilities. They often struggle with autoimmune disorders. They struggle with nutritional and allergy disorders.
Right.
I think many of them are labeled on the autistic spectrum. I think we're mislabeling some of these people. They're very wise, but they often have trouble. They have lots of energetic sensitivities. So we need them, but we need to support them as well.
It's so interesting when you were discussing this, because there are a lot of people that are very hypersensitive to other people's emotions. And I often feel very deeply for those people, because probably I'm one of them, because you really do. Like, you can break out into tears just thinking of the pain that someone's going through. And that type of person is really struggling on this earth, because not everyone, but many people have built defenses around their crutches, alcohol or whatever they do to just deal with a very complex world. And it seems that there's a lot of people that navigate it without any crutches, and yet they kind of get beat up by, I don't know if I'm expressing it properly, but I think I know the type of people that you're talking about, which is why I was asking more about the qualities.
Well, and I might just add, and again, as I say things, all this learning comes from clients. My understanding is that on Earth, we have advanced IP souls, meaning they usually don't come here, even though it doesn't mean they've never been here, but this is not the norm of where they reside. Excuse me. And we also have advanced Earth-based souls who have gained their wisdom lifetime after lifetime after lifetime on Earth. We're about 5% of the Earth's population. IP souls struggle more. Excuse me. IP souls struggle more than Earth-based souls usually.
Wow. Okay. Do you need to get a glass of water? Are you okay there?
Well, yeah, actually,
We've been chatting away here, and we've been doing different. By the way, while you're doing this, we've been doing some really interesting conversations on this whole topic. So this is one of 3 different videos that we're recording here. So I'm not surprised that your throat is going. I've got my water by my side as well.
Exactly.
But it's really fascinating, and I'm finding this in your work. I mean, are you? Where is this taking you in your work? This it's like a paradigm shift. That there's more than the Earth.
that is a wonderful question, Margaret. That often doesn't get asked. It isn't asked to me. Well, I'll just say that over the last 10 to 14 years, as I started working more and more with IP souls, and I don't, of course, only work with IP souls. And honestly, I'm not an IP soul. I'm an Earth-based soul. I've been coming here almost ad nauseum for, tens of thousands of years. But I realized that there were reasons that my guides and my own soul level decided to start working more and more with IP souls, partly because I am an Earth-based soul. I'm more grounded on Earth. Do I have some of the issues you described? Well, sure. Of course I do. Yes, but I understand how to operate on Earth. I'll also say that when I started having all these clients that were IP souls, my husband and I had a grandchild born at about that same time that is an IP soul. Mm-hmm. And I think that all happened with purpose. Totally happened with.
They're there to help you in some way, probably.
Right. And it was for me to try to understand this particular grandchild and help his parents understand him and understand there's nothing wrong with him. He's a very advanced soul. He just has certain issues and challenges. I'll add in that a lot of these souls are children. They're not all children. A lot of them are diagnosed with like ADHD and learning difficulties. But there's nothing wrong with these people.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. The work that you do, we've talked about in a previous video about the soul regression, which is the past life examination. And then you do a deeper one, which takes you really beyond the experience of the past life to how you got there. Do people know that to tell me what they say, they don't say, I'm on another planet or I'm on another solar system. How do they know that how do you know they're an IP soul when you do your regressions?
Well, I'll absolutely answer that question. And I'll admit to the audience that when I first started working with these clients, it was a little bit like, am I hearing this correctly? And of course, now it's become rather common. But so the client will go to a past life. They might just start describing a physical body, the body that they're incarnate in, but it's not a human description. It's a rough, almost lizard-like skin sometimes. Not always, but sometimes.
Yes.
A foot with 2 toes or 3 toes. I mean, I often have jokingly said, I would love to guide in regression the person who created the movie Avatar. Because where did they get those ideas? So the physical structure sometimes is unique, or the environment in which they live is pure healthiness, unlike Earth. Yeah.
Is there any theme that you've developed or that you've noticed with those people, the families that they've ended up in, the type of environments or the type of careers that they choose?
Good question. I find that often an interplanetary soul is in, if we think about their nuclear family, mother, father, siblings, that nuclear family, they are at times the only interplanetary soul in their family. So they have the grounding of the Earth-based souls. Or it might be a husband and wife who have 2 children, and one of the children is IP, the other isn't, and one of the spouses is IP and the other isn't.
Right.
Yeah. So it's usually a balance of that.
But do those IP souls in your experience tend to become doctors, or, you mentioned healing, for example, do they tend to go into those types of professions, or are they more likely to have, just kind of what do they end up doing in their lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll say that we learn where the IP soul comes from, meaning an IP soul has a soul home base that is tied to the frequency of somewhere in the celestial realm that is unique. Some of those soul home bases, if you will, are completely mental in style. Some are completely,
Okay.
So some are completely left brain, some are completely right brain. So those left-brained IPs would often become engineers, technology types.
Okay.
They're very, very smart in that respect. The right-brained ones would become gifted musicians, gifted artists, almost like gifted beyond their years.
Right.
Because they come from a right brain culture.
So just so that I understand this correctly, because I may have been misrepresenting, you're saying that a person that's here on Earth is also connected to, at the same time, to this home base in another place. So
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little different than I originally interpreted it. So you're saying that their home base may be in another dimension or another place, but part of their soul comes here, or?
Yeah, let's talk about frequency, which might make it easier to understand.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm an earth-based soul, and always when we're in body, earth or IP, we have a higher self. So Linda or Margaret brings a slice of our soul energy into our bodies when we're a baby and we're born and we're viable. The remainder of our soul energy is in the spiritual realm. So
we didn't talk about this before. Okay.
That's our higher self.
Uh-huh.
So Linda's an earth-based soul. My higher self exists at a frequency tied to the earth. So just think about it as frequency. And if I wish I was a physicist, I could probably describe it even better.
Yeah, I understand.
But the earth spiritual realm is a frequency. If I'm an earth-based soul, my higher self resides at that frequency, if you will.
Okay.
If I'm an interplanetary soul and I come to Earth, my higher self resides at the frequency tied to where I come from.
And that could be any number. It could be millions of places.
Could be within our solar system. Could be outside of our solar system. Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I can imagine for some people that would be very hard.
And challenge, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I've got another 1,000 questions, but I think what I should just at this point say is thank you, because you've enlightened me about a topic that is so, I don't know if I ever heard anyone discuss it like you have. So I appreciate that. And
my pleasure.
And I would say to people, go out to Linda's website, ravenheartcenter.com, and learn more about this, or pick up this book, Souls on Earth, Exploring Interplanetary, my notes here, past lives. But tell me, what's on the website that people, what do you do at the Raven Heart Center? I never have asked you that. What could they expect if they looked at your website?
If people went to my website, they'd discover that I do about primarily 3 or 4 different things. Obviously, I guide regression, and I train people in regression. I also guide what I call spiritual mentoring, both remotely and in person. And that really is counseling from the perspective of who are you as a soul, not just conventional psychotherapy.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
They'll find all that. They'll find some free videos of my teachings. They'll find interviews, even just like this kind of an interview. And, where I'm going to be traveling to, I'm in Colorado about 50% of the time. And then I'm out and about in the U.S. As well as outside the U.S. about the other half of the time.
What an exciting life. Amazing. And you do live in one of the most beautiful places on the planet in Boulder. I lived there for years and it's a great, great energy place.
I love where I live, so I like to be home at least half the time.
Well, thank you for taking your time to talk to us and to our community. You've really energized me. I'm super excited to take a look at your books. Do you do only the regressions face-to-face, or do you do things over Skype or however?
I guide past life regression. I guide the shorter regression actually over the Zoom platform, as well as I do spiritual mentoring over the Zoom platform. The longer regression I only do in person.
Yeah. Okay. This is good to know. Well, if you've been intrigued and interested, you know where to reach out to Linda now at ravenheartcenter.com. And I'm just looking forward to our next conversation, Linda. I hope that you'll come back and talk to us again. I've got a million questions.
I would love to do that. Thank you for having me, Margaret.
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our Life After Death YouTube channel and visit our website at lifeafterdeath.com. We are a community of people who are fascinated by the topic of life after death and subjects like near-death experience, the afterlife, reincarnation, and spirituality. Together, we are exploring and discovering these topics together with curiosity and an open heart.